They thought they had it all figured out, a once-in-a-lifetime luxury vacation, all paid for, all planned to the last detail. But when the day finally came, something shocking happened. The tickets were gone. The dream was stolen. And the person who took it? The last one they ever expected. Imagine standing at the airport, suitcase in hand, ready to board a first-class flight. Only to find out someone has already taken your place. Someone you trusted. Someone who had every reason to say no, but instead said, yes. This is mine now. And here's the twist. While they were left behind in anger and disbelief, she was already sipping champagne in first class, smiling as the plane soared into the clouds. How did it come to this? Why would a mother steal the very dream her son promised his wife? And more importantly, was this betrayal, or was it justice finally served? Stay with me, because once you hear the full story, you'll have to ask yourself, what would you have done? I never imagined that the person who would break my heart the most wasn't a stranger, an enemy, or even an ex-lover. It was my own son. And the way he did it was so cruel, so humiliating, that even now when I replay it in my head, I can still feel my chest tighten with anger and disbelief. You see, this isn't just another family squabble. This is the story of how the boy I raised, the boy I gave everything to, announced he was taking the whole family on a luxury honeymoon trip. And somehow, in his perfect little fantasy, there was no room for me. My name is Evelyn. I'm 53 years old, and for most of my life, I worked as a nurse. Long shifts, sleepless nights, endless sacrifices, those were my everyday reality. I wasn't born into money, and when my husband passed away years ago, leaving me to raise our only child, Nathan, on my own, I swore I would give him the life he deserved. Every cent I saved, every vacation I skipped, every personal dream I shelved, it was all for him. Nathan wasn't just my son, he was my whole world. When Nathan got married last year to a girl named Sophia, I thought maybe, finally, I could breathe. He was grown, successful in his own career, and I was proud. The wedding had been a spectacle, an expensive, picture-perfect ceremony at a vineyard that I had helped pay for. I didn't mind. In fact, I felt honored. Watching him smile at the altar, I told myself, all those years of sacrifice were worth it. But sometimes, life has a way of pulling the rug right out from under you, and you never see it coming. It started innocently enough. One evening, Nathan called me over to his house for dinner. I remember how warm the lights looked from the outside, how the smell of roasted garlic and wine drifted through the open windows. Sophia was already bustling around the kitchen, her sleek blonde hair tied up in a perfect bun, smiling that polite but distant smile she always reserved for me. Nathan seemed unusually cheerful, his hands animated as he gestured, his voice brimming with excitement. "Mom," he said, his eyes glowing. "I have incredible news. Sophia and I have decided to take the whole family on a trip. Not just any trip, a honeymoon vacation across Europe. First-class flights, 5-star hotels, the works. We want everyone to be part of this once-in-a-lifetime experience." For a moment, my heart swelled with happiness. The whole family? That meant me, of course. I imagined us strolling through Paris, sipping espresso in Rome, watching the sunset in Santorini. I had never been able to afford travel like that, and the thought of experiencing it with Nathan felt like a dream come true. But as the conversation went on, something began to feel off. Sophia laughed lightly, brushing crumbs off her designer dress, and said, "It'll be so wonderful. My parents are thrilled. My sister already picked out which spa package she wants in Florence." Her parents. Her sister. Even her cousin was mentioned. Yet with every name they ticked off, mine never came up. At first, I thought maybe it was a simple oversight, or maybe they were saving me for last. But the longer it went on, the clearer it became, this whole family trip didn't include me. I remember the exact moment it hit me. Nathan raised his glass and said, "To family. To new beginnings. To our dream trip." And everyone clinked glasses, except me, because I was frozen, my hand trembling around the stem of my wine glass, my ears buzzing. Finally, I forced a smile and asked, "So, when are we leaving?" The room went silent. Sophia glanced at Nathan, her lips pressing into a thin line. Nathan cleared his throat and avoided my eyes. "Mom. I meant Sophia's family. You know, her parents, her siblings, We thought it would be kind of weird, if you came along. It's more like our honeymoon. With them. With them. Her family. Not me. The word sliced through me like a knife. My own son, the boy I raised alone, was telling me I wasn't welcome on the trip I had already been daydreaming about for the last 10 minutes. Worse, he was framing it as if I didn't belong, as if I wasn't even part of his real family anymore. I swallowed hard, trying to mask the sting, but I could feel my face burning. Weird? I asked softly, my voice trembling despite my effort to stay calm. Weird to invite your own mother? Sophia jumped in quickly, her tone sugary sweet but dripping with condescension. Oh, Evelyn, don't take it the wrong way. We just thought it would be more intimate this way. You understand, right? No. I didn't understand. I would never understand. That night, when I got home, I sat on the edge of my bed and stared at the old photo of Nathan as a boy, his gap-toothed smile, his small hand gripping mine. How had we gotten here? How had I raised a child who could discard me so easily, as if I were some guest overstaying my welcome in his new life? But the betrayal didn't end there. A week later, Nathan called me again, his voice casual, almost careless. Oh, by the way, Mom, he said, since you're not coming, I thought I'd just use those airline miles you had saved up. You know, the ones you transferred to me last year? They'll cover our first-class tickets. I nearly dropped the phone. The miles he was talking about weren't just points. They were years of scrimping, of denying myself little luxuries, of putting every extra penny towards something special. I had always imagined I'd use them for my first trip abroad, maybe to finally see Paris. And now? He had taken them. Just like that. In that moment, something inside me snapped. I realized I wasn't just excluded, I was being erased. They had taken my sacrifice, my love, even my dreams, and twisted them into their own selfish celebration. I felt like a fool. A disposable servant who had outlived her usefulness. But here's the thing about people like me. We may bend, we may break, but we never stay down. That night, as tears blurred my vision, I logged into my airline account. And what I saw made my heart pound, not with despair this time, but with something far sharper. Those tickets weren't finalized yet. And they were still under my name. For the first time in years, I smiled to myself in the dark. If my son thought I would quietly fade into the background while he paraded his new family around Europe on my dime, he was dead wrong. Because if I wasn't welcome on their dream vacation, then I'd make it my own. I wish I could tell you that after that night, I confronted Nathan, that I demanded an explanation, or that he came to his senses. But no, what happened instead was far worse. Because sometimes betrayal doesn't explode all at once, it seeps in slowly, drop by drop, until you're drowning before you even realize it. After I discovered that the tickets were still technically under my name, I didn't act immediately. Part of me still clung to hope. I told myself, maybe Nathan will realize how hurtful this is. Maybe he'll call me tomorrow, apologize, and tell me I've been included all along. But that call never came. What did come were more little stabs to my heart, each one sharper than the last. A few days later, Sophia invited me over again. I thought, foolishly, that maybe they wanted to clear the air. Maybe they realized how cruel it had sounded to say I didn't belong. Instead, when I arrived, Sophia was standing at the kitchen island, surrounded by glossy brochures and travel guides. She didn't even try to hide them. Oh, Evelyn, she said, her voice unnervingly cheerful. We were just finalizing our itinerary. Rome for 3 days, Santorini for 5, Paris for a week. It's going to be magical. Her eyes sparkled with satisfaction as she flipped through the glossy photos of honeymoon suites and candlelit dinners overlooking the Eiffel Tower. Nathan sat beside her, nodding, barely glancing up at me. I forced a smile, but my chest was caving in. Sounds nice, I murmured. Then Sophia added the knife twist. You know, it'll be such a relief to have the whole family together. My parents are so excited. My dad even said it feels like his dream honeymoon too. Her father. Her family. Over and over again, they hammered the word family into the conversation, as though to erase me entirely. I wanted to scream. I wanted to grab Nathan by the shoulders and ask him if he had forgotten who wiped his tears at night, who worked double shifts to pay for his college, who sacrificed every single dream so he could build his own. But instead, I just sat there, suffocating under their smugness. Later that evening, when Nathan drove me home, I tried, gently, to say something. "Nathan, honey," I began, "don't you think it's a little strange, having a honeymoon with so many people? Shouldn't it be just the two of you?" He gripped the wheel tighter, his jaw clenching. "Mom, please. Don't start. This is what Sophia wants. And her family means everything to her." His words stung. Her family means everything. What about me? What about the woman who had been his entire world for more than 2 decades? That was the first real alarm bell, the moment I realized that in Sophia's carefully curated picture of family, there was no place for me. But the true betrayal hadn't even unfolded yet. A week later, while sorting through some mail, I found an envelope addressed to Nathan that had been accidentally delivered to my house. I knew I shouldn't open it, but something in my gut told me I needed to. My hands trembled as I slid the letter free. It was a confirmation from the airline. The first-class tickets were reserved for Sophia's parents, her sister, her cousin, and Nathan. My name was nowhere on the list. But the points, the miles, the account, all of it had been mine. My heart pounded. He had gone ahead and finalized the tickets using everything I had saved, everything I had dreamed of, without so much as asking. And the cruelest part? They had the audacity to use my sacrifice to fund a trip that deliberately excluded me. When I called Nathan, shaking with rage, he brushed it off. "Mom, it's not a big deal. You weren't planning on using those miles anyway. And come on, you wouldn't even enjoy all the traveling. It's tiring. This way, they'll be put to good use." Not a big deal. Put to good use. I was speechless. He wasn't just dismissing me, he was erasing my years of effort as though they meant nothing. And worse, he made me sound unreasonable for even questioning it. That night, I cried harder than I had in years. Not because of the tickets, not because of the trip, but because of the coldness in his voice. It was as if I had lost my son to a stranger, someone I didn't recognize. But even as I sat there, broken, I couldn't ignore the fire simmering beneath the pain. It whispered to me, "Don't you dare let them get away with this." Still, I tried to suppress it. I told myself, maybe I'm overreacting. Maybe I should just let it go. Until the next blow came, unexpected, brutal. One afternoon, I stopped by Nathan's house unannounced. Through the open window, I heard laughter and chatter. I hesitated, then stepped closer and froze. Inside, Sophia was on the phone with her mother, her voice dripping with amusement. "Oh, don't worry about Evelyn," she said. "She's not coming. Honestly, it would have been embarrassing to have her there. She doesn't really fit in with us, you know. She'd stick out like a sore thumb." Embarrassing. That's what I was to her. An inconvenience. I stood there, paralyzed, my chest heaving. Embarrassing? After all I had done for Nathan, after everything I had given up? I turned and walked away before they could see me, tears burning down my face. But in that moment, something shifted inside me. The grief began to harden into something sharper, something steadier. They thought I was powerless, a relic to be cast aside. They thought I'd accept humiliation with a bowed head. They were wrong. Because as much as it hurt, as much as I felt discarded and humiliated, I also knew one thing: they had made a mistake. They had underestimated me. And deep down, I realized, I still held the key. Those tickets, those bookings, all of it had passed through my hands first. And if I chose to, I could snatch back everything they had tried to steal from me. For the first time in weeks, I didn't cry when I got home. I didn't break. Instead, I opened my laptop, logged back into my account, and stared at the screen with a sense of icy calm. This wasn't just about a vacation anymore. This was about respect, about dignity, about reclaiming the part of me they thought they had destroyed. And while they laughed and planned their dream honeymoon with my sacrifices, they had no idea that I was quietly, carefully, preparing to turn their dream into a nightmare. By the time the departure date for their so-called honeymoon trip crept closer, my nerves were raw, stretched thin like a wire about to snap. Every phone call from Nathan felt like another twist of the knife. He wasn't just leaving me behind, he was rubbing salt into the wound, casually mentioning his family trip as though I weren't even part of the picture. One afternoon, just 2 weeks before they were set to fly out, Nathan came by to pick up a few things I had stored for him in my garage. As he loaded boxes into his car, he turned to me with that same careless tone that had haunted me for weeks. "Oh, by the way, Mom," he said, "can you make sure to drop off the documents for the travel insurance? I used your info for some of the bookings, but it should all be fine once you sign off." I froze. My info? When I pressed him, he shrugged as if it were nothing. "Well, technically the tickets were booked under your account. But don't worry, I already switched the names. I just need you to confirm a couple of things with the airline so there won't be issues at the airport." Switch the names. My tickets. My account. My vision blurred with rage. He wasn't just taking my miles, he had transferred ownership of the first-class seats I had saved for years, slipping my identity into the background as if I were a disposable placeholder. I clenched my fists, but before I could explode, Sophia appeared in the driveway, her sunglasses perched on her head, her lips curled into that polished smile I had grown to despise. She looped her arm through Nathan's and said sweetly, "Evelyn, you don't mind helping, do you? You've always been so generous." Generous. That was their word for it. Not betrayed. Not robbed. Generous. I nodded stiffly, but inside, something was crumbling. This wasn't just selfishness anymore, this was theft, humiliation, and cruelty wrapped together, paraded in front of me as though I should be grateful to play my role. That night, I lay awake replaying every memory of Nathan as a boy, the nights I stayed up with him while he had fevers, the birthday parties I scraped together money for, the college tuition bills I paid off penny by penny. All of it had led to this moment, where the boy I had raised turned into a man who could steal from me without blinking. The following week, the betrayal reached its peak. I received a call from the airline, confirming a detail about my upcoming trip. Confused, I asked which trip they meant. The agent on the line hesitated, then said, "Your first-class itinerary to Paris, connecting onward to Rome and Santorini. Party of 6. My breath caught. Party of 6. I asked for the names on the reservation. They listed them off: Sophia, her parents, her sister, Nathan. And then silence. "And the 6th passenger?" I demanded. The agent's tone turned awkward. "Oh, apologies, ma'am. It looks like the 6th ticket was recently cancelled." Cancelled. My seat. They hadn't just excluded me, they had actively erased me, using my account to book a dream vacation and then cutting me out at the last possible moment. My heart hammered so loudly I could barely hear the rest of what the agent said. All I could think was, they did it. They really did it. When I confronted Nathan, his response was colder than ice. "Mom, stop making this about you. Sophia and I talked, and honestly, it would just be awkward having you there. This is supposed to be fun, and, well, you'd feel out of place." Out of place. My own son, telling me I didn't belong in his life anymore. I wanted to scream, to slap sense into him, to break down and beg. But instead, I stood there in silence, staring at him until the words lodged in my throat turned to ashes. He wouldn't listen. He had chosen his side, and it wasn't mine. That night, I felt like I had hit rock bottom. I walked through my empty house, the silence pressing against me like a coffin. Every corner held memories of raising Nathan alone, of working myself to the bone to give him the best. And now, those memories mocked me. I curled up on my bed, clutching a pillow, shaking with sobs. For the first time in years, I felt completely, utterly abandoned. I wasn't just excluded from a trip, I was excluded from his life, erased from his definition of family. But as the hours crawled past and the tears dried on my cheeks, something strange began to stir inside me. A flicker. A spark. I thought back to the airline agent's words. The tickets were still under my account. I remembered the confirmation numbers, the passwords, the fine print of the rewards program. And slowly, through the fog of despair, a dangerous thought took root. They had stolen from me. Humiliated me. Discarded me. But what if I turned their perfect little plan upside down? The more I considered it, the clearer it became. This wasn't just about a vacation anymore, it was about power. About respect. about reminding them who they were dealing with. As dawn crept through my curtains, I sat up, my mind buzzing. I wasn't powerless. Far from it. I still held the ultimate weapon, control over those first-class tickets. They thought they had beaten me, that I would slink away quietly into the shadows. But they had underestimated me. And soon, very soon, they would learn what it feels like to be left behind. The morning after I discovered they had erased me completely, I sat in front of my laptop with a calmness I hadn't felt in weeks. It wasn't the calm of acceptance, it was the calm before a storm. My tears had dried, my grief had hardened, and all that remained was resolve. I logged into my airline account, heart pounding, and there they were, the bookings. 6 first-class tickets, Paris as the first stop, Rome, Santorini, then Paris again. All of it tied to my account, all of it funded by my years of saving and sacrifice. With one click, I could cancel them. With another, I could transfer the miles back to myself. The power was intoxicating. For once, I wasn't the discarded mother begging for scraps of affection, I was the one holding their dream vacation in the palm of my hand. I hesitated for only a moment. Then, with a sharp inhale, I began. One by one, I cancelled each ticket. Sophia's smug parents, gone. Her spoiled sister, gone. Even Nathan's seat, the seat he had stolen from me, gone. Every cancellation notification felt like a blade slicing through the humiliation they had tried to bury me under. And when I was done, I used those same miles to book something for myself. Not a compromise. Not an afterthought. A full-blown luxury vacation. A first-class seat to Paris with a connecting itinerary through Rome, Santorini, and beyond, this time just for me. For the first time in months, I laughed. Not a bitter laugh, but a sharp, triumphant one. If they wanted me out of their honeymoon, fine. But they wouldn't get to enjoy it either, not on my back, not with my sacrifices. I didn't tell Nathan immediately. I let the silence stretch for days, savoring the knowledge of what was about to hit him. I pictured Sophia's smug little smile fading as she realized the golden carpet she thought she was walking on had been yanked out from under her. The call came sooner than I expected. "Mom," Nathan's voice cracked with panic. "Something's wrong with the tickets. The airline says they were cancelled. Did you touch anything?" I let the silence linger for a beat, then answered softly, "Yes. I did." There was a pause, then his voice rose. "Why would you do that? We had everything planned. Sophia's family is furious." I didn't shout back. I didn't need to. My words were like ice. "You used me. You humiliated me. You erased me from your life while stealing the very things I worked for. Did you really think I'd just let it happen?" He sputtered, his excuses tumbling out, but I cut him off. "No, Nathan. You wanted a honeymoon without me? You got it. But you won't get it on my dime." And then, for the first time in my life, I hung up on him. I half expected him to show up at my door, to beg or to scream, but instead there was silence. Perhaps he was too ashamed, or perhaps Sophia's family's fury was directed at him now. Either way, I didn't care. Because the next day, I boarded my own first-class flight. The moment I settled into that plush leather seat, champagne glass in hand, something inside me healed. As the plane took off, I felt the weight of years of sacrifice lift from my shoulders. Paris was mine now, Rome was mine, Santorini was mine. Not because anyone invited me, not because I was clinging to scraps, but because I had claimed them for myself. Every stop on that trip felt like a victory march. In Paris, I wandered along the Seine at twilight, the golden glow of the Eiffel Tower lighting the sky. I remembered Sophia's smug little voice bragging about her dream honeymoon and smiled to myself, knowing that the only person living that dream was me. In Rome, I sipped espresso in a bustling piazza, watching lovers stroll hand in hand. I thought of Nathan and Sophia, stuck at home explaining to her furious family why their plans had crumbled, and I felt no guilt, only satisfaction. And in Santorini, as the sun dipped into the Aegean Sea and painted the whitewashed houses in shades of fire and gold, I realized something profound. I didn't need anyone else to give me permission to live beautifully. Not Nathan. Not Sophia. Not anyone. But the sweetest moment of all came midway through my trip. Nathan called again. "Mom," he said, his voice small, almost childlike. "We lost everything. Sophia's parents are furious, they think I lied to them. Sophia's been crying nonstop. I don't know what to do. I closed my eyes, savoring the sound of his desperation. For once, the roles were reversed. For once, he was the one begging, and I was the one in control. You'll figure it out, I said calmly, before ending the call. That was it. No lecture, no scolding, no comfort. Just cold, simple truth. As I laid back on my sunbed overlooking the Aegean, I realized the irony of it all. They had tried to cut me out of their perfect little honeymoon, but in the end, I was the only one who got to live it. Sophia's family didn't get their luxury trip. Nathan didn't get to play the perfect son-in-law. And I got everything. It was revenge, yes. But it was also liberation. For years, I had chained myself to the idea that my worth depended on Nathan's love, on his approval. But as the waves lapped softly against the cliffs of Santorini, I understood at last, my worth had always been mine to decide. And this time, I decided I was worth first class. By the time I returned home from my trip, the air around me felt different. Lighter. I had walked the cobblestone streets of Paris, tasted pasta in Rome that melted on my tongue, watched the most breathtaking sunset in Santorini, and I had done it all on my own terms. For the first time in my life, I didn't feel like a supporting character in someone else's story. I felt like the author of my own. But back home, reality was far less picturesque for Nathan and Sophia. The fallout of the cancelled tickets had spread like wildfire. Sophia's family, who had been bragging to their friends for weeks about their honeymoon vacation, were humiliated. They had already taken time off work, made arrangements, bought outfits, even boasted online about their first-class trip. When the rug was yanked out from under them, all their anger landed squarely on Nathan. He called me again, his voice raw. Mom, Sophia's parents don't even want to talk to me. They think I lied, that I strung them along, that I made promises I couldn't keep. Sophia's furious, I don't know if she'll ever forgive me. I almost laughed, not out of cruelty, but out of sheer irony. The son who had erased me, who had called me an embarrassment, was now the one being shamed and cast aside. He had chosen Sophia's family over me, and in the end, they turned on him the moment the luxury dried up. I listened quietly as he poured his heart out, his words tumbling over each other in desperation. And then, when he finally fell silent, I spoke. Nathan, now you understand. Family isn't about convenience. It's not about showing off or using someone when it benefits you. It's about loyalty. Respect. And when you strip me of both, you stripped yourself of the only person who would have stood by you no matter what. He tried to respond, but I didn't let him. I had wasted too many words, too many years begging to be seen. This time, I simply hung up. Sophia never called me. Not once. I imagine her pride wouldn't allow it. I heard whispers through mutual acquaintances that their marriage had been rocky ever since the cancelled trip. Maybe she blamed Nathan, maybe she never forgave him, maybe the illusion of perfection shattered too quickly. All I know is, whatever picture-perfect family she thought she was building didn't include me, and now, it wasn't so picture-perfect anymore. As for me, I didn't regret a single choice. The trip changed me. In Paris, I realized I had spent so long living for others that I'd forgotten what it meant to live for myself. In Rome, I remembered the fire I once had as a young woman, before life and loss buried it under sacrifice. And in Santorini, watching the sky explode in colors over the sea, I understood the power of letting go, not of pain, but of permission. I didn't need anyone's permission to live fully. I never had. When I returned home, I treated myself to small luxuries I once thought I didn't deserve. A weekly dinner at a nice restaurant. A spa day. A new wardrobe that made me feel confident, not invisible. None of it was extravagant compared to what I had sacrificed over the years, but each indulgence reminded me, I matter. Nathan tried, on and off, to mend things. He sent flowers once, a clumsy attempt at apology. He left voicemails saying he missed me. But I never rushed to forgive. Because forgiveness without change is just surrender, and I was done surrendering. If he wanted to earn his way back into my life, he would have to do more than call me when his world collapsed. He would have to learn respect. And respect is not given, it's built. Sometimes, late at night, I still glance at the photo of him as a boy, the gap-toothed smile, the tiny hand in mine. My heart aches, yes. But it no longer aches with helplessness. It aches with strength, with the bittersweet knowledge that I did everything I could. The rest is on him. So what did I learn from all this? That family, blood or not, means nothing without loyalty. That sacrifices mean nothing if they're taken for granted. And that sometimes, the sweetest revenge isn't screaming, or fighting, or even exposing someone, it's simply taking back what's yours and thriving without them. I know some people might judge me, say I was cruel for canceling those tickets, for turning the tables. But tell me, would it have been less cruel to let them waltz across Europe on the miles I bled for, while I sat home in silence, erased from their version of family? No. My actions weren't cruel. They were just. And honestly, they were liberating. If Sophia or her parents are watching this, I hope they enjoyed their family honeymoon because I sure did. Alone. First class. Champagne in hand, laughter in my chest, and freedom in my soul. And if Nathan is watching, well, son, I want you to remember one thing: the woman you thought was disposable turned out to be unforgettable. Family isn't about who you're born to. It's about who stands with you when no one else will. And when you turned your back on me, you lost the one person who always would have. So here's my final toast: to freedom, to dignity, and to living beautifully on my own terms. And to anyone listening, if you've ever been made to feel like you don't belong, like you're an afterthought, like you're disposable, remember my story. Take back your power. Book the ticket. Drink the champagne. Watch the sunset. Do it all, and do it for yourself. Because sometimes the greatest revenge is simply living the life they try to keep from you.